What's cracking, everybody? It's Critical Mess. This is episode 14. You might actually know what this podcast is about by now, but if you don't, it's a podcast where some dudes in the ad business hang around, have a couple drinks, and talk about movies that critics and audiences do not agree on. So I am Mr. Nick Honeywell. I'm here with two other lovely gentlemen, Mr. Grizz Griswold, Mr. Brian McCullough. Producer Ben still on hiatus. Is he alive, gentlemen? Is he still with us?
Well, he's going to be editing this episode, so...
I hope so. Ben, we love you.
Okay, we do. Our hearts are with Ben.
Well, I saw him Sunday at Oppenheimer, but he left an hour into the movie, and I never saw him again.
Yeah,
So I hope he's alive.
Yeah, well, yeah, he had to pee really bad, and he couldn't sit through those seats. So he may have actually passed. We don't know.
Well,
I'm sorry,
that's not funny.
Ben, we love you, Ben.
Love you, Ben.
Love you, buddy.
We're just going to leave it at that. All right, so what we do every week is an icebreaker. We've started a new kind of icebreaker system here on Critical Mess where we do a prepared icebreaker that we've talked about a little bit beforehand, and then we do sort of an impromptu icebreaker that there has been no preparation for. So we're going to start with the prepared icebreaker tonight. And this one is a throwback to last episode, if you listen to it. One of the reviewers that we quoted, Brian, I believe you brought up this review, said something to the effect of, the movie that we talked about was The Gray Man, and I think the review said something to the effect of, it was a great clothes folding movie.
I think specifically it was like dad folding clothes movie.
Yeah, right, something like that. So I think that obviously begs the question, what is the best movie to fold clothes to? Gentlemen, take it.
Hey, this is Brian, and I'm going to interpret that. I think there's probably multiple ways to interpret it. I'm interpreting it as a movie that gives me a certain kind of vibe. It's almost like putting an album on where you're not directly listening to it. You're just kind of setting the vibe. So to me, a clothes folding movie is one that I put on. You know, obviously I'm watching it, but, you know, I'm not really paying attention, but I'm getting a good vibe from it. And my answer is Starship Troopers. I love Starship Troopers. It puts me just in a great mood. I don't know why. And I like to see it, but I can also listen to it. It sounds great. Great soundtrack, hilarious dialogue. It's such a great satire. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Not in my top 10, but it is in my top 20. So that's my answer.
Man, I got to go with, it's got to be Tron Legacy, simply for the soundtrack. And I don't think either of you guys have seen that?
No, is it Daft Punk soundtrack?
Yeah, Daft Punk did the soundtrack, which is probably greater than the movie itself, but the movie was still fun. I liked it a lot, actually.
It's on my list to watch.
Yeah, check it out.
Cool, yeah, and I just want to second, obviously, Starship Troopers, a brilliant film that I wish didn't have like a dead even audience critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, because I'd love to talk about it, but it's just completely not for this show, but great movie. Okay, my answer is going to be a weird one, and the reason it's weird is because this is just a movie I remember folding clothes to multiple times in college, and I don't even know why. I think one time I watched it on purpose, I think another time it was maybe on TV. So I just, for whatever reason, I had it on during some epic clothes folding sessions. And that movie is 25th Hour, starring Edward Norton. What? Came out in 2002. I've basically only seen it folding clothes, but I've weirdly seen it, like I said, multiple times, maybe 2 or 3 times. And it's kind of a weird movie. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie, but it's a good background movie. And it's kind of about a guy, I think he's like a drug dealer or something. And it's Edward Norton. He's some sort of criminal, and he's going to prison. And it's kind of like about the day before he goes to prison. And maybe there's something to that. It's kind of like folding clothes is kind of like being in prison, maybe. So that's why I associate it.
Now I have to clarify. You described your clothes folding sessions as epic. Were they epic because you were watching 25th Hour, or were they just epic otherwise?
No, they were epic because I did them like once every 3 months when I would just do like,
Sure,
13 loads of laundry at once, and then just fold it for like an entire afternoon. And then at the end of the day, it was one of the greatest feelings in the world. But, it's still.
I'm with you.
That's an epic laundry session.
Very good, very good.
So, okay, on to our non-prep icebreaker. And we're actually going to diverge a little bit on this one. It's not going to be a movie-specific question, but it is going to be associated with the film we're going to talk about tonight. So the question, the non-prep icebreaker question is, as our movie tonight is a kind of in a lot of ways, a quintessential 90s movie. It came out kind of toward the end of the 90s in 98, but it has a lot of kind of 90s feel and vibe to it.
No, for sure.
So My question to you two gentlemen is, what is your favorite 90s beverage that is no longer available? Or at least available not on a scale that it once was in the 90s? And I'm happy to start.
Okay,
if
so
we
you
need
start.
to. And
I
I can
think
throw
I
out-
have an idea, but
Yeah.
I just don't see it anymore.
and like I said, it's okay if it still exists. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
its heyday
Okay.
was definitely the 90s. And I'm going to throw out one just hilarious one. I hope you guys remember. This is not my answer, but I did think of this. Do you guys remember Orbits?
No,
The gum or the traveling company?
No, neither.
neither.
What?
No,
Neither.
it was a drink that had these little floating balls
Oh, yeah.
of like just plastic or something in the drink, like suspended in the drink.
Isn't there something called Orbeez now that's something
Yeah.
similar?
I wonder if it was
Maybe.
boba. Little.
Boba.
I wonder if
Yeah,
that's what
it was
in
a
that back in
similar
the day.
kind of
edible
thing.
something. I know that's bigger in
Yeah,
other
it was
countries.
really disgusting, but it was like a super 90s thing.
It was
that
probably
just-
plastic for sure, though.
Yeah, it was definitely plastic. Yeah. So that's just one that I always remember. But I think my answer is probably Jolt Cola,
Oh, Jolt.
which was kind of legendary in the sense that like only O'Malley's had it. You know,
It was right at the beginning
was-
of the huge, hey, let's put a bunch of caffeine in a beverage before all
Right.
the energy drinks got big.
it was when we
Jolt.
were, and it was we were a little too young for alcohol.
Yep.
So it was like caffeine was the drug. So yeah,
Still
we
the
would,
drug, but
well,
yeah.
it's still a hot drug for
But
sure.
big time back then, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So Jolt Cola, I remember it was tasty. It was super sugary, and it just was the amount of caffeine in it was prodigious. It was crazy. So that is my answer.
My knee jerk was Faygo, just because I listened to a lot of ICP back in the day. But
Hmm.
if I have to admit, I never really bought any Faygo. I just like to say that I liked it because I liked ICP. So I'm gonna go Slice.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm gonna go Slice.
Dang, I was gonna go Yoo-Hoo. You know,
Ooh,
the
yeah.
faux chocolate
Sure.
milk or whatever
Mhm.
it was back in the day. I see it every so often at a gas station, but I've not had it in years. But that had to have been it.
Good answers.
Yeah.
Good
I'm
answers.
surprised no one went Snapple.
Man, that was like
To me, that's the aughts.
that was the big one in high school.
Well, no,
In
remember
the vending
Seinfeld? It was
machine.
huge on Seinfeld.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was-
not the 90s.
yeah. It was I feel like it was.
But I
90s
gotta
was the
say,
heyday.
I never bought Snapple.
Yeah, never big on Snapple.
I just wanted pop. I needed that fizzy pop.
Mm,
Yeah,
yep.
no, that's fair. Okay, we broke the ice. Now, we talk about a film. It is a film from 1998. It's a romantic comedy. It is called Can't Hardly Wait. It's directed by two people, actually, Deborah Kaplan and Harry Elfont. And it stars a lot of people who were hot in the 90s. People like Jennifer Love Hewitt, Seth Green, who got hotter after the 90s, I would say. It had Peter Facinelli, who I've actually brought up before on this show for his work in, obviously he's in Twilight, but I always remember him for his work in Fastlane, the Fox hour-long sort of dramedy with Bill Bellamy.
Which I've never seen. 2003, you said ish.
It's probably around there. I don't know.
Need to check it out.
Yeah. So Peter Facinelli, Ethan Embry, goofball. Charlie Korsmo, who we just talked about.
I love Charlie
what
Korsmo.
he's from, and he's,
I'm a Charlie Korsmo fan.
yeah, I am too. Yeah. What about Bob and what was the other one?
Hook.
Hook, of course.
of
Our
course.
first episode, our
Yeah.
inaugural episode of Critical Mess, the movie with Charlie Korsmo. Lauren Ambrose, Jenna Elfman, who you may have forgotten about, was a big star in the 90s, also in this movie. And a nice cameo by one Jerry O'Connell, which
Oh,
was
brilliant
exciting.
cameo.
Great cameo, one of the best parts of the movie, and we should get into that.
For sure.
Trip.
Trip McNeely.
Trip McNeely, yeah.
What a great
McNeely.
great name. What a great name. This movie had a budget of somewhere between 10 and 13 million bucks. It made almost 26 million, so more or less a modest hit. This movie. Just a quick refresher about our criteria for the movies we talk about here. So the movie must be fresh with critics and rotten with audiences, or vice versa, and that disparity needs to be at least a 20% gap or so. So this movie happened to get a kind of a not so hot but not wretched 40% with critics, and a fairly respectable 63% with audiences. So I think at least we all have a little bit of history with this movie. So let's just kind of get into that, gentlemen. What was the first time we saw this movie? How many times have we seen it?
Well, I was 16 when it came out, and this movie was engineered for 16-year-old Brian and every 16-year-old that existed. I don't remember if I saw it in the theater, to be honest, but I've seen it so many times that I can basically it's playing right now and with the sound off, and I mean I know every single piece of dialogue that's being said. It's just I've seen it so many times, and I gotta say I loved this movie. Loved this
Can
movie.
you try and put a number on it?
I'm gonna say 25.
Wow. How many movies do you think you've seen more than this movie?
Probably 15 or 20.
Yeah, so not a whole lot.
Yeah,
it's in rare air.
Yeah, and it's because of the length, an hour and 40.
Yeah, it's
love
breezy,
it.
real breezy.
And it's very rewatchable. The pace is just it's a movie that you go, hey, let's put this on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, the rewatchability is definitely up there for me. Also, what did this re-air on? TBS, USA, back
this
in
was
the day, or
syndicated,
Comedy
yeah.
Central. The syndication was all out of the, just insane. So I remember seeing, you can catch this movie at any point. It's just casually through the whole party or whatever it is. And so I think that was what made us remember. I mean, I probably saw it 20 times as well, just on and off throughout certain scenes and stuff like that. So very fun. But I mean, I had to have been 11, 12 years old when this came out. So it was definitely after, once it got onto cable, that I started catching it a bunch.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see it in the theater. I did see it, I'm sure, shortly after it was released to, gosh, I suppose video back then. Video. Well, I guess DVD.
Well,
Yeah.
This would have been right
That was
when
DVD.
DVD was becoming mainstream.
Yeah,
99. I worked at
yeah.
Circuit City in 99, and we sold a lot of DVD players and DVDs. And this probably came out on DVD in 99,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and I had it on DVD, of course. So
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it quite as many times as you all. I have seen it plenty of times, though. I bet I've seen it between 5 and 7 times, I would say, probably in its entirety.
I mean, I've watched it twice in the last 2 weeks. So you know.
which is crazy. Okay. Before we get into our ratings for this film, I just want to let everyone know that we are sponsored by 1792, an old favorite of ours. It's such a hot deal for the price, and it's just good shit.
And it's our one and only sponsor.
Not true.
No, remember the joke? Remember the gimmick?
That was the whole point. We were hoping you'd lean
remember
into
how
it
we
a
were
little bit
gonna-
harder.
Gosh, shit, never mind.
Darn it, Nick.
Then
You
cut
guys-
this out.
Yeah, guys, you
Ben,
just
cut
have
this
to, you have
part
to
out.
bear with me a little bit. I have a simple mind, but I guess I didn't understand what you guys were saying.
Every week,
What- can
we
you
bring
guys-
a different
Can I just
liquor.
handle the sponsor, guys? Like, why don't you just let me handle the sponsor? Okay. Okay. Thank you. We're sponsored tonight by 1792. It's one of our favorites. And as I was saying, there's no better bang for your buck in the whiskey world than 1792. It's just some solid shit. And they can use that as a tagline if they want to pay me. So, we're also sponsored tonight by Taxman Beer. Drink local. Also good shit. Okay. I want to rate this film.
Okay, let's rate it. I'm
Let's
ready.
rate it.
Let's hear it.
I'm ready to rate.
Go
rate.
you first, Nick.
Oh, I'm going first.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
we're
You're going
making Nick
first.
go first?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm going
I
for
like
it.
that.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm giving this film a 59. A 59. I obviously have a soft spot for this movie. I enjoy watching this movie. This movie gets a lot of extra points on the enjoyability meter, except for one monster glaring issue that we'll get into that it loses maybe, I mean, a couple dozen points for.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't hardly wait.
But yeah, good. I see what you did there. So I did like this movie. I did enjoy this movie. I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's an enjoyable movie in a lot of ways. I have a lot of a nostalgia for this movie. But yeah, I'm giving it a bit of a middling but slightly favorable 59. What do you guys think?
Solid. Grizz here. I am right at a 55. I am middle of the road. Definitely higher than critic for sure. But I don't remember what the audience score was. Actually, it was in the 60s.
63, maybe?
Okay, so
63. Yeah.
middle of there, but I mean, it's outrageously enjoyable to watch. I mean, it's funny. It's definitely memorable from what I like you said, Brian. I think I can recite a bunch of these lines as this movie plays silently in the background. So it's kind of it held together, and I mean, I remember a lot of it. So
I'm really disappointed because I was really hoping that we would just be drastically different. So that, and I'm tempted to just make up a rating just so we can have something to argue about.
no,
but
because if we hit the same number, then we have to finish our drinks.
I'm
in
above
front
that
of us.
integrity.
Give
We
it a
didn't-
12, Brian.
We didn't hit the same number, unfortunately. I'm at a 48.
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
at a 48. I'm not quite a 50. That's a number that pains me to give because prior to 2 weeks ago, if you would have just asked me what's your rating of Can't Hardly Wait, I hadn't seen it in years, I probably would have knee-jerk said, 80. But watching it back with a
Same.
critical eye, and not an overly critical eye, mind you, I give this movie a lot of slack. I'm not looking for all kind of nuance and subtext and art house. I'm watching this as a coming of age teen rom-com party movie, and I don't think the movie needs to be any more than that. I'm not expecting anything more than that. But I can point to other movies in that genre that I would give a 90 to. And this movie, when compared to those other movies, does not do it. So, not a bad movie. I definitely will rewatch this movie. Very funny. Enjoyability high, critical, not so much. And it's got, you said you have one glaring thing, Nick, that takes it down a couple dozen points. I probably have 6 things that take it down a couple points each.
Sure.
So, we'll get into that.
Okay, so and also I'm kind of with you, by the way. I feel like if I hadn't just watched this and you just asked me like a couple of days ago what I would rate this movie, I bet it would be maybe 20 points higher.
Mm-hmm.
Easily in the 70s or 80s, like you, Brian. If I had
Yeah.
not watched it again.
We're all in agreement.
So it didn't age particularly well, perhaps, or perhaps we're just getting old and curmudgeonly. I don't know.
And I'll just clarify, not to split hairs, but I think it ages decently, with an exception of a couple of racist and homophobic slurs here and there. But I don't know I can't remember what it was like in '98. I'm not going to dock the movie for those things. But other than those things, it ages well. But I think I just notice things now that I didn't notice then.
Sure.
So that's that's my, clarification on that.
So why do you guys think that critics and audiences do not agree on this movie? Why is there such a disparity between the two groups?
I don't know. I think I can easily see why critics hate this. It's not. I mean, it's easy to hate on for the various reasons, but I can't really tell when the reviews were written. I can't tell if they were done back in the '90s or if they were done in the last couple of years. But I'm shocked by the audience score being so low. Still, I feel like
I would have thought it would have been higher.
You know
too.
what I mean? I would have thought it would have been in the low 70s,
70s or 80s.
You know what I mean?
probably.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have guessed. Yeah.
So that is what actually shocks me about this film.
So
It
we should clarify, though, the actual critic rating of this movie. So 40% of critics gave it a favorable review, but the actual average critic rating of the movie is a 5 out of 10. So that's better than the 40% favorable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the actual audience rating out of 10, they're at a 63% favorable, but the actual average out of 10 is a 72.
Okay.
So we're actually looking at a 5 out of 10 and a 7.2 out of 10. So just if that lends any. So so what I think that means is that I don't think critics hated it, and I think audiences enjoyed it. I think that critics probably just watched this movie and thought, this movie doesn't do anything new. And I'll read the synopsis here, the critics' consensus, as it were. Occasionally clever and moderately intelligent, Can't Hardly Wait also contains too many cheap laughs, recycled plotting, and flat characters. Knee-jerk reactions to that?
Yeah, I think it's very full of cliches, which I think is a problem. I do think, though, as you brought up a little bit, there's some smart filmmaking happening in this movie. One of the things I wrote down was that there are some, especially early on in the movie, what this movie does really well is it makes really good transitions.
I had that exact sentence written down in my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. It does.
The transitions in the first 20 minutes are really well done.
Really good. And there's some good ones later in the movie, too. But the movie, it flows nicely in a lot of ways. So there's some experienced filmmaking happening here on some levels.
I mean, that's evident in the dialogue. I mean, look at the two nerds after the exposition of kind of William's backstory. Do you think there'll be girls there? Are you kidding me? People may be even having sex tonight. And then transition right to, yo, I gotta have sex tonight.
Yeah,
and
that's a
it
great
brings you
example.
to the gas station, to the whole different crew, and then you go from that to, well, I had another one, but I don't think I wrote it down. Anyway, the transitions from those, the setting up of sort of the cliques or the groups, you'd call them, is really quick and snappy.
Yeah, how they all the teenagers essentially, are all the same age. They're all the same group. Like, it's funny that they're all these like outrageously, over the top genres of groups and types of people, but they all have some of the similar traits. So they said the same words, they did the same things. All these, but I have to say the transitions were unreal. Like, especially when they would shoot a small scene, whether it's hands or feet or walking or a locker or something, and then they would pan out, and it was the actual actors doing those things.
Right.
So
Sorry, can I do a quick just aside here?
Yeah.
Which clique were you guys a part of in high school? How would you label your friend group? We have so many cliques in this movie that I think actually did a pretty good and fairly comprehensive job of covering the sort of, the different kinds
They
of
got 'em all,
cliques that
yeah.
happen. I mean, there might be some sub cliques they didn't quite get, but for the most part, you can tell that the people that wrote this movie went to high school.
So you have the jocks, you've got the nerds, you've got I guess I'll call them the ghetto boys, Seth Green and what would you call those guys? The Beastie Boys? There's a term we used when I was coming up that I won't say now because I think it's racially insensitive. Starts with a W. But the ghetto boys, is that what you'd call them? I don't know.
Yeah, people who are appropriating black culture.
Yeah. The band, as seen on screen now. The chicks, I call the chicks a clique because they're sort of, but I guess you could group them in with the jocks.
Like the hot chicks, you mean?
the hot chicks.
Yeah.
And then the greasers.
Yeah.
You had the greasers, and then you also had the potheads, but they kind of came in later, and they didn't have any main characters represented. So those were kind of the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 7 cliques in this movie.
I think there were even a few more, I think.
Yeah, go, please.
I mean, there was kind of like, I don't know quite what to call them. There was kind of the cool guys that weren't the jocks. Like they were and I want to get into this a little bit more, like the keg crew.
I called those the greasers, the Robert Downey
those are
Jr.
your
lookalike guy.
greasers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what greasers were.
They looked
Okay.
like greasers from Greece.
Okay, they were a little.
They were kind of.
They
One
had a
had
lot
a-
of 90s
one had a mesh
flair,
t-shirt.
though. Yeah, they had a lot of that 90s flair.
My word's not good, but I just used
No, but
that
I
word.
I see what you're saying there. I think they had some greasy hair.
As
Yeah.
they were filling in the cups of beer with just straight
Yeah.
foam the
Yeah.
entire time.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
whoever-
I want to get into that too. That's another great question. Who manned the kegs?
The greasers.
At your guys,
Damn it.
At your
Yeah.
guys' high school parties. Was
Oh.
it the greasers? Yeah, because that was always
No,
a very
I-
important job. The
Yeah,
keg
no.
man.
So just to answer your question, I would have been 100% in with the jocks.
Sure.
I play basketball. That saved my ass from getting kicked so many times in school. I went to an inner city school. I was a minority big time in the school, and so being a jock saved me. So I wasn't like preppy, cool, like rich, whatever kind of jock like these guys. Like I wasn't getting any girls, but I definitely was a jock.
Interesting.
Chris?
Yeah, I had to have been one of the background extras. I mean, for sure. I don't think I fell inside any of these groups, but I knew a lot of people inside each one of the groups. I think that was the strange part. I think I just, as the movie, meanders its way in and out of the house and the different groups, I was probably just one of those background characters that went in and out of each of those groups.
Okay, so you were in the nerds.
kind of a float.
Yeah.
All right,
Nerds,
Nick.
yeah.
Ryan.
Damn.
Well, let's call him a floater.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice floater. There you go.
Another, I guess this wasn't really a click, but a nice touch that I liked that they threw in was like the kid that couldn't stop stealing shit.
Oh yeah.
Because we all knew that kid, right? Especially in high school.
Grizz was talking about him before the podcast. He probably had the most screen time for someone who doesn't have a line of dialogue.
He
Yeah, he
had to
doesn't
have
say
had the
anything.
most screen
Yeah, the
time.
Shermanator, right?
Shermanator, yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick, where were you?
I was kind of in the I was kind of in the stoner crew, but I'd like
Okay.
to think we were kind of cool kid adjacent. We did, like, most of my friends didn't really, we didn't really get many girls, but we hung out with some guys that did. So
We can all agree
that
none of
made
us did.
probably
but
the least cool, the least cool people, really. So,
well, never mind. I was
we
going
had
to go on
fun.
a tangent. Okay. Yes. Good to know. Okay.
Anyway.
3 different groups. I do want to get back real quick to the critic. We're talking about the critic reviews. And I did read a couple of really, really well-written ones here, but one of them is from Michael O'Sullivan from the Washington Post. John Hughes must be spinning in his grave. That's an interesting, and he has a bad rating. I don't know what his rating is, but it's marked rotten on here. I don't know if that's a fair comparison. I see where he's coming from with the coming of age, because a lot of John Hughes movies are sort of coming of age. But I just get a different tone. This movie is more of like an entertaining sort of goofball comedy realm than sort of more like the introspective, kind of half serious dramedy coming of age movies like Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, those type of movies. So I don't know if I agree with him on that, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you familiar with John Hughes movies? How would you sort of compare those to this?
Well, you got to keep an eye on old O'Sullivan over there. I feel like he's...
Is O'Sullivan is he a bad actor?
He's I'm kidding. No, O'Sullivan, I'm sure, is a fine critic and a fine writer. I agree in your disagreement, though, Brian. I think this movie kind of carries on the tradition of John Hughes in a with the zeitgeist. I hate using that word again, but it's I think appropriate. It feels kind of like a late '90s John Hughes movie. I get it definitely doesn't have as artful or nicely crafted feel of a John Hughes movie. I mean, John Hughes is a talented filmmaker in a way that the people that made this movie aren't quite. But like I said earlier, I don't think this was like poor filmmaking. I think it was kind of mediocre in filmmaking with some good stuff going on. But John Hughes overall better director than what
his
we have
movies
here.
had a lot more heart and a lot more personality and all that stuff. I actually was talking to Brian about this beforehand. He thought this was kind of a hot take. I actually thought this was more of a parody of a John Hughes movie than it was just a straight original comedy.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's odd because it seemed like a lot of the lines were pulled from a lot of different movies, whether before or after it, but it 100% felt like a parody to me because the way the lines were delivered, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the parody, but that's just my opinion. I don't get parody when I watch this. I get teen coming of age comedy. I think first and foremost, this movie exists to prey upon teenagers' hormones by casting the just Jennifer Love Hewitt and just like the hot people back in the late '90s. And secondly, exists to make you laugh. And then maybe a distant third exists to make you sort of look inward. And I think John Hughes puts that one higher up in that order. But a couple of other ones here. Let's see. Roger Ebert says, the movie lumbers ungracefully from romantic showdowns to deep conversations to bathroom humor. And aside from the word ungracefully there, I'm not sure if I agree ungracefully. I think he's right that it oscillates between those three things. I don't know that it does it ungracefully, but that's his opinion, and he gives it a 1.5 out of 4, so that's pretty low. But yeah, so I think there's other reviews in here about it being cliched, about it being just like tropes and things like that. And of course there are tropes, and of course there's some cliche, but I think to answer the question of why did the critics put this at a 5 out of 10 or a 40% favorable, I think the general consensus is just not trotting much new under the sun and sort of just preying upon those existing things that are just going to get that built-in audience.
I think that's fair. Yeah. One other really quick little observation. I think it's kind of maybe easy in a way to draw a parallel to John Hughes because in this movie we've got kind of like a, kind of an insecure redhead female protagonist. Very Molly Ringwald.
She's a poor man's Molly Ringwald for sure.
Yeah, she kind of is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
She kind of is. I mean, she does a good job, I think. I think she actually... No?
No.
I
Okay,
think she does
a
fine.
good job at being a fucking super annoying character that I can't stand.
I do think she's annoying, and
Okay.
I think that's part of the thing. I think she's
then
hard.
give her a gold star because she
Yeah.
excelled.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of a little bit of the point, at least. She's just kind of difficult and annoying. Yeah, okay.
So,
All right.
so you want to talk audience real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we can just kind of cover
Yeah,
our bases there.
for sure.
Typically audience reviews are so terrible that I read through them and I'm just like, they're either like word vomit, like 15 paragraphs, which, come on,
Yeah,
just
just wall of
give me
text.
consensus. Or they're so poorly written that I can't even read them. So it's really hard for me to read them on air. But there were a couple really insightful ones here. I'll read one here. And this has this name drops a couple other movies. And I'd be curious to know if you guys put these movies, how similar you put these to this. So Sean M. says, I love this film. People give it smack for not being as good as American Graffiti or Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I say to put it on the same shelf is already high praise. There are lots of things I like about Can't Hardly Wait more than those other legendary films. There's a Tarantino-esque characterization I love, and the archetypes are still salient today. Salient? An audience member used the word salient.
Yeah,
I
what was
respect
his
that.
rating? What was his rating?
4.5 out of 5.
Wow.
But I think
What do you think, though?
he or she is also a moron because they are called this Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
what?
They're just trying to say They're just trying to put movie terms together. I
They
feel
said
like.
the Tarantino-esque characterization.
Characterization.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
This
Is
is
it-
like kind
is
of
it
as
because,
far
like-
from Tarantino as you can
Is
get.
it be? Oh, I'm looking at just the characters themselves, not like the like. Is it because they were just incredibly over the top?
Because they're sort of
versions
archetypal, I
themselves?
guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that
I guess I
why?
can see
I
why
mean,
he said
I
that.
guess that just seems like I think a lot of other people do archetypes.
All right, you Tarantino fan.
No, he just wanted to say something about Tarantino.
Yeah.
That's I feel like you'd have to be very hard pressed to draw any sort of parallel between Quentin Tarantino and this film. But hey, maybe I'm just being naive.
He
I
tried
don't
really
know.
hard, I guess. Maybe I don't know.
This movie is a classic, the quintessential high school party movie from the late 90s. Also a great soundtrack. Now we have
Yeah, we
the
gotta get into
introduction
that.
of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So yeah, put a pin in that. But this person is saying that this is the quintessential 90s high school party movie. And I'm going to agree. Late 90s. Because the absolute pinnacle is Dazed and Confused. And this movie to me is like if Dazed and Confused and Clueless had a love child.
I'm gonna have to look at years quickly. But a
Dazed and
couple
Confused is
other
93.
movies- I mean, Dazed and Confused, yes, is obviously a better movie than this. Varsity Blues,
Ooh.
99.
I don't want your life.
That is the best.
I like
quote.
Varsity Blues. I wonder if that'll age well. That's late 90s.
Yep.
I feel like it would age
And-
better than
and-
this.
You think so?
Yeah.
American Pie.
I fucking absolutely hate that movie
and-
with a vengeance.
And don't you feel like it ripped off this movie?
Yes,
It did, didn't it?
I think so.
And
I
this
think
movie
so.
already was ripping off John Hughes movies. So
Yes.
it's like, man, how many ripping offs are we going to do in a row here?
Have we looked
It is.
at the,
That's like I said earlier. Like I feel like this movie ripped off a lot of John Hughes movies before it, but it ripped off movies after it somehow. I don't know how it did it, but it pulled it off.
Well, it influenced movies after it,
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
it just in
Even the poster. Even look at the poster.
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
just the red and kind of the white background and like it's just it's very and just kind of the group of people.
yeah.
You know, it's obviously very inspired by
I was really hoping American Pie would be on our list. It's a straight across 61-61.
Wow,
Wow,
that's low
dead
for
even.
both.
It's
I'm
like the
shocked.
most boring
Wow.
rating a movie could get.
I haven't seen it probably since the theater, so I can't
It
really
came out the
comment.
next year. I
Yeah, right.
hated it then, and I guarantee you I hate it now. So, but enough about what I hate. Let's talk about Daisy Confused. Or what is this movie? Fucking can't hardly wait.
I don't remember. Thanks to 1792. We appreciate our sponsor this evening. And our sub-sponsor. Let's not say sub-sponsor, our co-sponsor.
Co-sponsor.
Our strong and powerful and influential
Equal to.
co-sponsor.
Now that we've completely blown our gimmick out of the water,
Right. And sorry, co-sponsor is Taxman. Sorry,
Yeah.
Taxman. We love you,
Taxman.
Taxman. Drink local.
So let's kind of sum that up with critics say not something new. Audience says pretty fun, pretty great, good for what it is. Do we agree with that? Stop playing Clash of Clans on your phone, Grizz.
Yeah, no, I'm flipping through the audience reviews, which is hilarious.
I'm just
Like
kidding.
a lot of them are lower than I thought. The audience reviews, and just like reading through, it's just like some of them are just another teen movie, or it's another one of the favorite movies of all time, but from the 2000s, but not great. Like these are just hilariously bad reviews.
Well, now, Not Another Teen Movie is one of the great teen comedies.
One of the early Chris Evans wonderful
The first
performances.
Chris Evans movie, I think.
I think
Like,
so.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a lot of like 1 stars or any 1 stars. I'm seeing mostly 3s to 4s to 5s from audience here. So, but anyway, let's talk more about some of the parts of this movie. Nick, let's throw it to you. Where are we going next? Because I got a lot of fun
I think,
stuff
well,
to
first
talk
of
about.
all, I think do we just forego flipping the script tonight because we're all just so close to the middle.
Well, I'm at a 48, which I consider to be not a good review, and I did have 4 flip the scripts, but maybe we can just skip it, and I can just say those as part of my other thoughts.
Yeah. I think I would assume these topics will come up in our epic and legendary newly titled segment, Slow Burn.
Slow burn.
Slow Burn, formerly known as Rapid Fire. Okay, but here's a question before we get into the slow burn. What are we going to do for Brian's Corner?
Oh, I'm glad you
that
asked.
old crusty behind the curtain Brian's Corner.
Yeah, what's in Brian's Corner again? I forget.
You know, it changes.
Does it?
With the seasons.
I bet there's a Magic Eye poster there.
There is.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
And a pinball machine.
There's a pinball machine.
A whole row of them.
I would hope when we're doing well. Yep. Sometimes we got to sell them off. I got to say though, there's not a. I don't have much prepared for Brian's Corner today.
Oh.
So
Let's just talk more about what's in Brian's Corner. Then.
yeah, let's just think about it.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say this for Brian's Corner. This movie does some cool things with just blocking and people on screen. There are always, I mean, there's maybe 10% of this movie where there's one person on screen. And think about movies. You'll get when there's dialogue, you get like shot, reverse shot, one person on screen at a time. Sometimes you'll get a lot going on with extras, but a lot of times you get just one person or nobody on screen. This movie is just full of people, and I feel like that gives it life. And there's so many people from the extras in the background. There's always people moving around. I love that they do that. They spend a lot of time doing that and making sure that blocking is right and feels like a party movie. So I'm just going to throw out some side characters who actually have lines who I just really like in this movie, who I always forget about until I watch the movie. Because when I think back to this movie, I think of like 6 people, and I forget that there's like 6 other people who I love that they're in this movie. So this is Brian's Corner. So number 1 is the Remember Guy. Do you remember the Remember Guy?
I do, and I want to get into one of his lines for sure.
Go for it.
Right now?
Oh, okay. We'll wait. So I'll run through because we're in my corner. The Remember Guy. I love the Remember Guy.
Yep.
The Boombox Guy. Take Me Down to the Paradise City Guy. Boombox Guy. I
Boombox
love
guy.
him. Greatest night of his life, you guys. The Yearbook Girl. Clarissa Explains It All.
Yes.
She's got more lines in this movie than I remember. And matter of fact, her and Remember Guy have a little fling.
She's kind of omnipresent.
She's kind of omnipresent. And I'm on her side with the memories. I got really mad when her yearbook got thrown in the pool.
Yeah, everyone was really
That was a
rude to her.
dirty
Seriously.
move. Yeah.
But I do love that her mechanism was the reason that Jennifer Love Hewitt put the pieces together with Preston. That was kind of a cool, like at least they used, it's like a Chekhov's gun, you know? You've got the drummer, of course, the guy from Scrubs.
Donald
Scrubs.
Faison.
Yes.
Faison.
He was great. He was I just loved him. He was so funny in this movie. The girl who owns the house, who's always freaking out. I enjoyed her. I enjoyed her.
She reminded me of Rose from Bridesmaids. What's her name?
Bridesmaids?
We literally forgot about this poor lady like a week or two ago.
Did we forget again?
Oh my gosh, you guys don't remember her name?
No.
Well,
I've only seen that movie
we're
once. It was a
terrible
long time ago.
Are you talking about Kristen Wiig?
Her name is Rose Byrne.
Oh, Rose Byrne.
She looks like Rose Byrne.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, she does look like her.
Yes.
That's correct. And then lastly, the stoner. The stoner guy, he's pretty funny. And I like him when he's describing Preston as having kind of brown hair, kind of tall, and he wears T-shirts sometimes.
And Jason Segel.
Jason Segel, yeah, I was going
Segel
to
as
drop
the
that.
watermelon guy.
Yeah.
A lot of these are credited as just a random thing they did in the movie, which is fantastic.
And of course, that's how I just described him in
Yeah,
Brian's Corner.
yeah.
I didn't include Jason Segel because I don't feel like he was enough of a side character to... But I did enjoy him.
Sure.
So anyway, that's Brian's Corner. Those are the oft forgotten side characters who have lines but are not the main characters.
Well, can I also throw in there the Klepto Kid, of course,
Sure.
and the Dorks?
Oh yeah, the
Sitting
dorks
on the
are
top
great.
of the pool house.
Yeah, the Dorks were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darth Vader doesn't push Luke, or Luke doesn't push Vader when he cuts his hand off. Well, I mean, he should have. Those guys, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They brought a lot of joy to this movie, I thought, and actually, can I bring up one quick thing about them? Why they were like, I thought it was funny. They were obsessed with X-Files. Like, why were the super dorks obsessed with X-Files when we were in high school? Like, I thought
think so.
X-Files was kind of like a cool, edgy show, like that maybe kind of cool people liked.
No,
But it was for dorks.
that was just you.
No, it was
No, I was too scared to watch X-Files.
actually.
so-
Well, I was actually really scared of it too.
yeah. So
Yeah,
no,
I only
wasn't
watched
even,
a few episodes, but I remember it being like kind of a niche thing for people to watch back then. But I could be
It
wrong.
just doesn't seem that dorky to me.
Okay.
Sci-fi.
I might be awful.
aliens.
It doesn't seem dorky in a way that like Star Trek seems dorky.
Yeah, they should have been wearing Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Anyway, yeah, those guys were great too. They were amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree that Brian touched on this, but the framing in this and the number of extras was insane. And the way they shot this, if you count the number of extras, this movie had a great flow to it. It constantly, what was it, an hour and a half?
It was funny as he was saying
Dude.
that we saw
Yeah.
the most empty frame.
Yeah,
in the
and
whole
the
film.
emptiest
Literally,
frame, yeah.
I'm not lying.
That was
Literally,
such a
that's
good-
the only frame in the entire movie that does not have a person in it.
That was
the
so
one that
perfectly timed.
perfectly
Sorry,
timed.
no one can see or know that, but
it's
yes.
it's
Yeah.
the part
hilarious,
of the movie
but
where
a great observation nonetheless.
Yeah, it's incredible. But like I think the movie had a great flow. Like it constantly kept your interest. The in and out of characters, whether it's yearbook girl or old story guy or the klepto, like they kept coming in and out to make a quick little joke or a funny little nod in the behind the scenes. But I just thought it really, I mean, it flowed well for
Yeah.
a party, to the gas station, to the house, to the bathroom, to the backyard, to everything.
I kept looking in the background to see people like just phoning it in or not doing the right thing or kind of acting
No, they're all
goofy.
on it.
They are all
Yeah.
on it. So whoever the assistant directors are or whatever, they did a great job on this movie.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for hanging out in Brian's corner, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Wish you a great
Can't wait to
evening.
see what's in Brian's corner next week.
I promise it'll be something different.
Good. I can't wait. I can't hardly wait.
Can't hardly
I
wait.
can't hardly wait.
All right, guys, it's time for the epic and perfectly now titled slow burn segment. So let's get into it. And here's where I want to start, guys. I want to start with the music because that's something we have to discuss. Wow, does this movie sound like 1998?
In the
And-
best way possible.
In the best way possible. And actually kind of, it was interesting, they integrated some tunes that were like not necessarily from 98, but more like, 95, 96, a couple years earlier. But it really, man, this movie, this music is, what the era it's coming from is. I want to know, does anybody remember the opening track in this movie is from a band called Eve 6. Do you guys remember Eve 6?
that's Eve 6, yeah.
It is an Eve 6 song. Yeah, and I hadn't thought of Eve 6 since the 90s.
Well,
until
Inside Out
last
is
night.
also in the movie. That's another Eve 6 song.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there's another Eve 6 song. Okay.
Yeah, Inside Out when they're first coming into the party. But I didn't know that first song was Eve 6. Cool.
Yeah, I was never really into Eve 6, but I knew about Eve 6. I feel like they weren't quite edgy enough for me at the time.
They were pretty mainstream and
Yeah.
kind of looked down upon by real music people.
I'd have to search both of these. I don't know who that is, but all
don't
I could
remember
think
Eve
of is
6?
Smash Mouth at the very start of the movie.
I mean, to
And-
be fair though, being 5 years older than you, like that is like
You guys were a different generation when it came to remembering music and
well,
like being
yes,
a part
and,
of that.
and
Yeah,
people are so defined by the music that they hear from like ages like 14
Yep.
to 18. So like
Yeah.
even just a few years difference,
Yeah.
I can totally see you not knowing or caring about Eve 6.
yep.
Another music observation. I think what I would actually maybe classify, I mean, I maybe have to think about it a little more, but as far as I can tell, the best high school song there is plays at the climax of this movie. And that is from maybe the best sort of high school music anthem
Third Eye
punk
Blind?
band. Oh, no.
Oh.
Blink 182.
Oh, yeah,
Damn
this is
it.
growing up.
Damn it.
Damn it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best
That's the
Blink-182
ultimate
song.
high school song to me. And I think it's a great song. And I was into Blink 182 back in the day. So I really appreciated that song. And to be frank, there's a lot of music in this movie I do not like.
Smash Mouth.
Smash
Mouth. Brian, you want to talk about Smash Mouth?
I want to talk about the fact that Smash Mouth. I'm going to retract my
You want to
statement.
get this off your chest?
I said that this is a perfection of a 90s music soundtrack, and I want to take that back because Smash Mouth is played 4 times in this movie. If you include the one in the closing credits, that's 4 times too many that Smash Mouth should ever be in a movie ever. Maybe Shrek. I'll give Shrek the one time it's in there. I told Nick, I said Smash Mouth is my least favorite band of all time, and then he pushed back and he was like, it's everyone's least favorite band, and I was like, what? He said, so that's not really a great answer. So I changed my answer, but I'm gonna say they suck. They
Easily
just
the most
suck.
overplayed band of the late 90s, early 2000s, for sure. And I'll say that.
And it takes me out of it every time it plays in this movie. I'm just like, oh god. Did I say enough there, Nick? Are you wanting me to shit
Nick's
on
very
them more?
silent.
How about better band, Smash Mouth or Nickelback?
Nickelback.
Nickelback?
Because I can
Easy.
actually listen to like 3 Nickelback songs, and Leader of Men I'm gonna say that's a good song.
Better band, Smash Mouth or Sum 41?
I only know the one Sum 41 song, so I'm gonna say Sum 41.
Some 41, probably.
Okay.
I
All
can
right,
play
I'm not
this
going to keep
game all
trying.
night.
I'm not
I
gonna
can
keep
play
trying.
this
That's all I
night.
got.
Keep
Yeah, we
coming.
could keep playing that.
No.
I will
There's
say
some bad 90s bands.
The antidote to me in this movie for Smash Mouth was another band that played 4 times, and that is Third Eye Blind. And that Third Eye Blind self-titled first release 97 album is a start to finish banger. I love that album. It still holds up today. And actually, not even like I think there were like 3 or 4 huge singles on that album, and none of those are played in this movie. It's like 3 or 4 other tracks from the album. So,
Can I talk about that for a second?
please.
I also bought that album a few weeks after it came out, and I thought it fucking sucked.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you still think that?
I was kind of a ska punker at that time.
So you like Goldfinger?
I did like
did
Goldfinger.
too.
They were a little mainstream for me, but they were cool. Superman. I mean,
Better
they-
band, Smash Mouth or Third Eye Blind?
I mean, it's Third Eye Blind,
Okay.
but it's begrudgingly.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, I have to say, I just really didn't like that album at all, and I was kind of pissed that I spent the $14 on that CD.
Maybe we can come together on the best song in this entire movie, and it's when Mike Dexter makes his entrance. Do you know the song I refer to?
No.
The band is White Zombie.
Oh yeah.
The song is More Human
that's
Than
when
Human.
he comes in. Okay.
And More Human Than Human.
More Human Than
when
Human.
when I had my teen angst, I would go out to my car with my twin 12-inch MTXs, and I would turn that song on as loud as it would go, and I would just rage drive. And I got so hyped up by that song.
I listened to More Human Than Human like 2 weeks ago.
You did?
Oh yeah. I like
God
I like
bless you.
metal. I mean, yeah. I mean, I dabble in the metal, and
I'm gonna listen to it tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
This
it's
is
a hot
the
track.
opposite of Grizz's Corner because I just don't know a lot of music, especially in this age range or this genre or this era of
And
music.
I'm sorry,
if you will.
Grizz. I know.
But
I'm sorry.
I do recognize all the songs and
Yeah.
the names and all that stuff.
I
But
guess
it
I
is
just-
interesting to hear you guys' takes on it.
I had written in my other notes that in this movie there's literally, it's like Oppenheimer, but you know how Oppenheimer, it's start to finish soundtrack, like it never lets up,
Yes.
regardless of what kind of scene it is. This movie is that, but for like pop music, pop rock music.
Yeah.
And there was
And it's
always
weird because a
song
lot of
being
the
played.
reviews, the audience reviews, had to do with the soundtrack that I read through that were just constantly talking about the various songs that popped in. I don't know if it was because they just cranked it up to 11 and they just let the scene play through and they just transitioned from one big song to the next.
I just respect the licensing, the budget that you have to be able to license that many songs. I mean that
Especially with this movie's budget. Was
Yeah.
it all?
that's where it all went.
Yeah, it had to.
That and fucking Jerry O'Connell, I guess.
Yeah, his game. Well, I mean, there's always the idea that there were only a handful of main characters, and they were only on screen for. I mean, it's a 90-minute movie, so they're on screen for 20 minutes each, and then the rest are so quick that they're only paid for that much. So I don't know. They could spread it around.
So to wrap up this slow burn question, would you guys think, so yes or no, does the soundtrack make the movie better? Yes or no?
100%.
Yes.
Yes,
And maybe neutral for you, or yes?
I think it did make it better.
Yeah.
For sure.
I definitely think of the soundtrack when I think of the movie.
Cool. Yeah, we slow burn the shit out of that. All right. So, thanks to 1792. Appreciate you. I don't remember what my tagline was, but I'm sure it was brilliant. I only take a small royalty. Also, thank you to Taxman.
He said something about it's
Drink
like
local.
it's good shit, or
I know it was
Affordable?
good.
Good?
It was
Yeah.
affordable. Yeah, really, whatever it was.
I don't know if affordable
really
is
not
really
great.
like a good way to describe whiskey, though.
Well, I think it's got a good price point for the quality.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I say that genuinely, as someone who doesn't yet have a huge sponsorship from 1792.
We'll say sensibly priced.
Very sensibly. Very sensibly.
We
High
have that
quality.
one like on social media that they gave us. So
Let's see if we can go on even more tangents upon tangents starting now.
Back to slow burn, everybody.
All right.
So I actually have a nice transition here, I think. So, this is a PG-13 film. That means you get 1, maybe 2 F-bombs.
I think back then it was 1. I think now you can get 2.
I think now you can squeeze in a second one if you just do it in a very tasteful way.
It's got to be the right tense, and it can't be like sexual.
It cannot be sexual.
It's got to be.
It's going to be. I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got 1.
Oh,
we've
yeah,
got
I
1,
remember it.
but we almost have 2.
Oh yeah.
And this is how it's kind of a nice transition because it comes in the form of a song lyric in the song "Damn It" from Blink-182. There's a line, "He fucked her," and the sort of the ambiance of the party just ramps up right at the right moment to just blur out that one F-bomb in the song to make way for another F-bomb. And do you guys remember what that F-bomb was?
I do.
Please, Brian, lay it on us.
It was in the context of fate. It was when poor man's Molly Ringwald says, I do believe in fate. It just works in really fucked up ways sometimes.
Oh, I didn't even notice it.
And I kind of respected the fact that they saved it for such a low-key moment and towards the end of the film. Because like what we're seeing right now when William is up on stage and the boombox guy, I mean, you could have had it at the climax of the movie. Like, this is the effing greatest night of my... I mean, there's so many times you could have thrown it in for maximum impact. Even Trip McNeely could have had the word. But to give it to her in the end, kind of neat.
Yeah, it's a nice little moment.
And I'll give you the exact line. There's such a thing as fate. It just works in fucked up ways sometimes. So, poor man's Molly Ringwald. Can we just call her PMMR from now on? Or Pimmer?
We could call her Denise because that's her name in the movie.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's probably a little more respectful.
Because I don't know her real name.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we burned that one a little less slow.
It was a quicker burn.
But it was a little bit of a quicker burn. Let's go to just a quick observation from me here. So, obviously a big theme in this film. And I guess one thing we didn't talk about yet was sort of the theme.
I thought we were kind of waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess let's go ahead and get into it.
I would say the movie would like to say that fate is a theme. But I disagree. I don't think that this movie explores fate in any way close to how other movies explore fate. I think the movie tries to say the word fate a lot, but it doesn't really do any deep exploration in it. The only theme I could really get out of this movie was that the theme of coming of age, just the learning about life, learning about I've got to grow up. I mean, damn it. Plays towards the end of the movie, and that song's about this is growing up, and how it kind of sucks. And Trip McNeely, he comes and he's like, actually, college sucks for guys like us. And Mike learns that I can't just do whatever I want. I should keep the girl. And there's a lot of people who sort of kind of learn harsh truths.
Real quick, I want to talk about that Trip McNeely scene because, like, really, why does college suck so bad for him? He's a young, good-looking, athletic dude. Like he's not out there crushing it. Like that just seems ridiculous. All the girls in college are going out with seniors. Like I wasn't buying it.
Well, it's going from the
Trip didn't lose the magic.
You're You're having a hard time with that one, I'm sure.
Nick,
but
you didn't watch the movie. You didn't take the theme in.
I'm
the
sorry.
theme was definitely coming of age, but I felt like that scene was just simply he's going from the top dog in his high school, senior, and you have 3 levels below you, sophomore, junior, freshman. And then you go into
big fish in a
college,
small pond.
big fish. Yeah. It's exactly what that is, and I think that's where he was like having, it's just a mental crisis of going from the top to the bottom again.
You know what? If I know anything about Trip McNeely, it's that he can go into a college campus as a freshman and bag some chicks, man. That's what he does. Seriously.
Yeah, but you're okay. Sure.
Is it mean, or did he look like he was 45 years old in that scene?
He's always looked like he's 45.
I know, but still.
Yeah, that's just how he looks.
But can we just, while we're talking about that, can I just say that was by far my favorite part of the movie?
Yes.
It was one of the best scenes.
He
top scene for me.
was so good as that character. The way he comes in and he's like perpetually, partially belching for like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And I think that he was like drunk IRL when he the way that he slurred his words and the way he said the word digits, Like I don't think
Yeah,
you can
you're right.
you can think about when Charlie Korsmo is trying to act drunk with Mike later. It's kind of cringy. He's not very good at acting drunk, you know. Well, Jerry O'Connell, he did a great job, and I was grinning ear to ear on that scene.
And Jerry O'Connell was hot at
Sliders.
that time. Like he was in a lot of stuff. He
Yeah.
was at Joe's apartment. Remember,
Yeah.
he was he was on a lot of like kind of he was just in a lot of stuff. And Sliders, by the way, that's a great call out. I loved that show.
Right.
That was like it was on Friday nights on Fox. I think it was on before X-Files. And it was just it was kind of easing into X-Files. Because X-Files was sometimes it was a little too
heady.
a little too scary.
Yeah, I had to go back and look at his movie filmography or whatever. But Tomcats and Mission to Mars were the two that I vividly remember rewatching on whatever cable stations. So that's fantastic.
Tomcats, yes.
Tomcats. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that scene because, I mean, it's so good. And Mike Dexter, his character arc gets kicked into high gear on that scene. And we want to talk about character arcs. There's not a lot you can do in the course of 24 hours with character arcs, at least long-lasting things. But I think they did, and I'm not asking this movie to do that because, like I said at the beginning, I'm asking. It's a coming-of-age comedy, and it doesn't need to do that. But it does a great job with Mike Dexter's character arc, the way that he realizes the gravitas of what's happened, what he's done by losing this
However,
girl.
at the very end of the film, he's right back to the same old Mike.
That's on my list. This was almost Brian's corner. Was ways this movie shoots itself in the foot. They really, really even when he makes fun of William in the diner at the end because he's saving face in front of his bros, like you wouldn't expect him to sort of just completely change in one day. Like that was still on brand. Like he says get out of here and he's mean to him, but then maybe you still like maybe later he's gonna be nice.
He
to
should
him.
have done some nice little subtle thing.
Yeah, but
for
then the
him or
epilogue
something.
text completely ruined it, and I'm like, really,
Yeah,
really?
sure. The
You set
epilogue-
him up to be this like dynamic, awesome, like the scene where he apologizes to William at the piano. That's a heartfelt scene.
Yeah, and then they just run it away with that little quick, what was it, the freeze frame and the text on screen. It says lost his job at the car wash after some incriminating Polaroid surfaced.
Yeah.
It's like, what was the point?
I'm
I
like-
guess that just shows that some people, have their full circle and some just don't grow out of it.
I don't know. Was that a studio exec or something? I just got my hopes up. Like, oh,
It's
cool.
like they forgot, like they wrote those at the beginning and they just put them at
Yeah.
the end of the film. And then they
Right.
were like, oh, I forgot he had that arc that we were supposed to finish out.
Oh, Trip McNeely's belching on screen right now, and it's just you can just hear it. You can smell the lager on his breath.
I love how slow we burn this shit. Great.
Wait, where are we at? What do we?
Grizz, any other thoughts on the theme?
No, it's just classic coming of age.
Yeah, no, I think kind of. I don't have a lot to contribute to that. I mean, obviously, kind of sex and teen angst were kind of big themes throughout. Kind of to that point, an observation I had here. Do you remember the sex scene with PMMR and Seth Rogen?
Seth Green.
Yeah, Seth Green, a much smaller Seth.
Much smaller.
Joe
Seth.
Rogan.
I was listening to a Rogan podcast on the way.
How can
here.
you forget that sex scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
had
with
the
Tim
candle
Dillon, very
lit.
funny, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, that Seth. Do you remember when he had the sex scene with PMMR, and they're in the bathroom, and it's just like his tiny little spindly little body, just his little skeleton, just kind of thrusting atop her. It's the stuff of nightmares.
What I had a
He's like this little goblin that's just trying to make love to this
And
poor
the contrast,
PMMR.
the contrast going from
PMMR.
his incredibly baggy, large clothes all the way to his actual skeletal shape.
Right, yeah, I
was
know. It's
alarming.
I think that's a big part of it.
It was
It's a
alarming.
big transition. He's wearing like these jinkos, and then now he's just this tiny little. He's like a little schmiegel. Yeah. Just kind of just thrusting on this poor young
Pull
lady.
quote for the social shares later. Yeah.
Yeah, he is just pumping. And it's
question for
gross.
you, Nick. What's the cringier sex scene? Enemy at the Gates, dirty quiet sex, or PMMR Schmiegel bathroom sex?
I have to go the latter. As much as I hate that scene.
So it's even worse than that for you.
Yeah, I hit that 15-second skip a couple times last night. It was
cringe.
painful. Yeah, just
She's
that
already
little-
cringe. Just RBF
Yeah.
like seeing her,
Yeah.
and then to have Schmeagol.
I know his little just pale body. Just, I know, just making some sort of semblance of love.
Do you know how tall he is in real life?
Oh, he's so fucking short. He's like 4'5".
5'4".
Yeah.
He's savage.
He's super
Just
short.
cut a foot off.
He is a small fella.
All right, yes,
but
we're all in
a
agreement.
funny motherfucker. I'll
Yeah,
give him that.
yeah,
yeah,
he's funny.
Yeah,
He's done well for
very
himself.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Robot Chicken was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh Lord, where do we go from here?
I've got a couple of rapid fires.
Yeah, let's bust one off.
The homeowners have a dimmer switch in their bathroom. Is that a thing?
I don't know if I was just we didn't have those, girl. I just didn't know those were
In their-
those seemed fancy.
In their bathroom.
Yeah. You need a dimmer in the bathroom for, I don't know, a moody
Do you?
shower or a. I have no idea why I didn't catch that.
This is my question.
Yeah, that's weird.
Don't try to like cover for the movie.
I'm trying.
Say yeah, that's weird.
Weird.
Thank you. Good job on the rapid fire there. I already asked the sex scene one. Great moments, yay or nay, that you remember this moment. When Mike pushes the yearbook girl.
Nay.
He enters White Zombie's playing and she's like, sign my yearbook, and he like pushes her and she goes flying. That was in the trailer. You know.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Well, when you said it, I didn't remember it immediately.
I should have described it more.
But I remember that banging White Zombie track when he walked in.
When William, Paradise City boombox guy is getting right when the words are getting ready to come in, and he's getting ready to start singing and get the party going. William, like, violently takes the stage and completely knocks him out. Funny? No.
Not memorable.
A lot of blank stares.
Sorry.
I kind of like that part. I remember that. That was good.
Funny.
That was a great scene, actually. That was one of the better scenes
So
in the
good.
movie. Yeah.
When William, right after that, when William sees boobs, and his reaction is to pass out.
I'll buy it.
And then he like jumps
for
back
sure.
up, and the mic like magically like floats into his hand, and he hits the break of the song. All right, you'll buy it. Good.
Great
And last
timing.
one, buy or sell. This might be too obscure, but when William's like, "Hey, patience, girls, you can both hold my laser pointer," and they go in the makeout closet, and one of the girls like gets cut by another
gets
girl real
pushed out,
quick,
yep.
and then she's so devastated.
Mm-hmm.
I just found that very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Buy or sell, Grizz.
I'd buy it. I mean, that was funny.
Okay, and then my last rapid fire. This is not a great moment. This is just a thought I had, just kind of a meta thought here. So there's a couple making out on the couch when Preston and Amanda are kind of first, like she's sitting on the arm of the couch and Preston's sitting on the couch and he's trying to get her attention. There's a couple on that couch making out, right? They are hardcore making out. Like they're not blocked out of scene. Like you see them like just open mouth going at it violently. Well, not violently. I don't know why I use that word. But
Well, there was a lot of
aggressively.
Yeah,
There you go.
there was a lot of passion, and he was really working that right hand too.
Oh, I didn't notice the right hand. I was too focused on the lips.
He was
Guys,
working it.
huge credit to the background actors in this film. Again,
That's my point here. So, and they're not. It's not just that scene. I mean, first of all, that scene is shot by a lot of different angles and a lot's happening. And I haven't made a movie, so I don't really know. Grizz, you probably know more about kind of like I don't know how that worked, but how many takes would they have done, and how many like elapsed minutes did that couple have to make out like that in the background? I mean, it had to be like an hour.
forever. Yes.
Have you ever made out for an hour that aggressively?
No, there's no way.
Would
The
your
extras,
lips be numb?
Well, you got to think about like when you always see like people eating in a scene, and you're like, oh, how many times? 20, 30 takes,
And
they're
and a lot of times they'll spit.
Yeah, it's a spit take. Yeah,
they'll spit
so
it
they're
out.
just spitting that food out. They'll cut right before they're done chewing.
But you
so
can't
don't-
spit out and make. I mean,
But no, they're working in that background.
these two must have really gotten to know each other.
That $80 a day
I mean,
rate
good
for whatever
job
background
to those
actors.
extras, because pay attention next time.
And
I
what a
mean,
great gig!
was
You
it?
know, a few $100 a day to just smooch some hot chick.
But I feel like I might hate making out after that. It might be ruined.
You guys
for
don't
me.
make out for like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
I got to be honest, man. My longest makeout session ever has maybe been, I don't know, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
I mean, it's got to go somewhere. What are you, 13?
To Brian's corner.
Got to go to Brian's corner.
There's no making out in Brian's corner. All right, that's my rapid fire. Thanks for making it quick, guys.
All right, back to slow burn. Facinelli, I feel like he was really channeling Tom Cruise.
Oh, I've
in
got
80s cocktail era.
cocktail.
Tom Cruise. I felt like, in fact, it was almost a mimic in some ways. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, again, I think they were just. I really thought this was a comedy parody. They were pulling from so many different movies. But yeah, I would definitely
he
agree
kind
with
of
that.
looks like Tom
Yeah.
Cruise. Like his nose, he's got
Yep.
a very Tom Cruise nose. He's
Yeah.
got the kind of a Tom Cruise 90s haircut going on.
I'm gonna say I think he's got the Tom Cruise look, but I think he plays his own character, and I'm gonna say that I think that his performance in this movie is by far the best acting in the entire movie. I don't get parody of Tom Cruise here. I get he disappears into his character.
I get a heavy dose of Tom Cruise. I really, just in the kind of the
I can see it.
intonation,
Yeah, I
the
can
way
see
he
it.
says, kind of just enunciates the words. He just sounds like Tom Cruise.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Anyways, that popped out to me. Let's get into a couple quotes. A couple quotes from this film.
I gave you two of mine.
Yeah, you did. You gave a couple of good ones. So one I wanted to shout out here is Seth Green, not Rogen.
He's got a lot of quotes in this movie. Can you do it in the correct sort of ghetto accent though? If you're about to read it, one of his quotes.
Well, this quote is only 2 words, so it's going to be hard to kind of squeeze in that intonation. But I have to just shout out that he talks about mad talent at the party in '98, and I don't feel like I heard like the term like mad talent. I feel like I heard mad talent kind of around the time I heard Smoke Show. I feel like it's like an '05 term. And he was dropping it in '98. Am I off on this? Was Mad Talent around in the '90s? It was, obviously, but I was maybe not cool enough to say things.
He was
like
ahead of
that.
the game. I don't feel like that was a thing of that time.
I feel like maybe he did it like he ingrained. What's the word? He somethinged himself into like inner city
Subconsciously.
culture, and he like was around it for a lot, so he could like kind of second nature sort of ad lib some of this stuff. I feel like a lot of this stuff was not directly in the screenplay.
What if
Maybe-
he coined it?
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe either he heard it and he was on the cutting edge of hearing it, or he even maybe coined it.
He was on the cutting edge of that slang.
Yeah.
I think, no doubt, because
He
I
called
didn't hear
somebody
that
a
word.
G.
I feel like that's older.
He said, "Watch me, G."
I feel like that's older.
Yeah.
But talent. Talking about the talent at
Talent.
the party.
He also
and,
gave
like,
himself the nickname Special K, which was pretty great.
Special K.
Yeah, it
right,
was awesome.
which is, I think, still kind of a name for ketamine, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
very
that's cool.
recent.
Was that a thing back then? I don't know. I wasn't taking ketamine in '98. I'm not taking ketamine in 2023 either. Let's be
Just to
honest.
clarify.
Somewhere between then and now.
But
you did.
Nick is
Yeah.
wearing, Jinko jeans, large black and white Fila shoes, and
Well, you know me.
yellow
And
goggles.
big chain attached to my wallet.
Yeah.
That's really my
with a
piece de la
padlock.
resistance.
I love when he says he gets that he's there's that girl behind him and she's like, I'm gonna do the next guy that talks to me, and she's all sad and he's like, "Hello, baby, please. You are far too fine to
That's
look
pretty
so
good.
sad."
That was pretty good. I can also just point out, I love his, and I feel like this is a highly underutilized dance move, but the fishing pole, the fishing rod, we kind of spin the reel, you know?
Yeah, he
and
did
you're
that
kinda-
to the other
kinda reeling
lesbian.
It in.
Remember the girl? She said she was allergic to dancing, and then the other, and they were clearly the lesbians. We forgot about
yep.
them in the cliques, the
Yeah,
lesbian
another click, the lesbian click.
So then he tries to reel her in, and then she runs away, and that's when he kind of loses all his confidence. But he does use the fishing lure. So
One of my, probably the line, I'm not even going to lie, the line that made me probably laugh the hardest in the whole movie was the young gentleman. He doesn't have many, I think this might be his only line in the movie, but he's carrying a bunch of whipped cream, and he talks to Ethan Embry, right? And he's like, did you hear Amanda was single? Thinking about asking her out. Time to get freaky. He's
he
got
runs
all
off
the
with
whipped
what he-
cream.
yeah.
he hammed it up on that line. That was a good line.
Dude, that guy killed that line.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah, that was a good line. Liked it. Okay, another line that made me, this gave me a true LOL. The dorks, right? My retainer looks like a Klingon warship. Fire photons. Pew, pew. Yes.
So he did get the Star Trek
Yes.
reference in there. So
We
you're
got
right.
the Star
Yeah,
Trek
you're
in
good.
there.
And
but-
that's where it's cutting between William up on stage, just like being the star of the show,
Yeah.
to like the nerds. The juxtaposition's good in that.
My favorite line by him was, "I downloaded this baby off the net."
The net. Downloaded this bad boy off the net.
Off the net.
Can I
Yeah.
give you a bad piece of dialogue?
Yes.
And this is a kind of harkens to Jennifer Love Hewitt. I guess maybe this will be part of my closing thoughts, but one of the huge reasons I didn't like this movie was the no less than 4 super annoying cringe characters in this movie. We've already talked about a couple of them. Jennifer Love Hewitt was one for me. She is not a good actress. I'm sorry. I was.
She's
not
always been a
buying
bad
her.
actress.
And
always.
she's like she's one of the main people of the film, and it's like, just I wish somebody would have cast her better or written for her better. But her line, was she's talking to her second cousin or something, and there's a lot of really dorky, corny lines in there. But this is just a perfect example. Thanks for listening. God, I got to be prom queen, and now I want people to feel sorry for me too. I should just shut up. And like when I watched it earlier this morning, instantly in my mind, I was like, yes, please do.
Yeah.
And I felt bad. But now it's public and everyone knows I thought that.
I have to pee so bad, Ben.
You just wanted to skip the cringe.
We
I
are
believe.
back. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. Love you, Ben.
Miss you, Ben.
Okay. Well, here comes another slow burn topic for you. Man, they just shredded the shit out of Scott Baio. Can we talk about that? Damn, what did he do to deserve that?
I wonder if his estate sued this movie.
They should have
Yeah.
for libel. I mean,
Because like Barry Manilow was like up on a pedestal. You know, he was highly revered, as like the guy who knew everything. And then Scott Baio, it's like, Scott Baio, what's wrong with you to like that guy?
what did Scott Baio ever do to this movie?
Good call.
I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna maybe say something that's a little controversial here about this movie. I think the band and the whole side story completely unnecessary. Added nothing to the movie. Thoughts?
I'm trying to find a way how it connected to him just doing the main nerd going up and singing that blasted song, just going nuts and becoming the life of the party.
I'm
But
gonna
without that band, does he do that? Does it transition well enough?
I'm going to completely agree with you, Grizz, and I'm going to disagree with you, Nick. The band, first of all, it's a sort of a linchpin that you keep coming back to. Otherwise, it's just this transient party, and there's no sort of center. Like the band to me is like grounds where we're at, right?
The
It's
party,
also-
yeah.
It's a party. It's funny. It sort of represents the vapid kind of nature of just these parties and teen events anyway. You got this band, this whole arc of this band coming back together and all this. It's like sort of the stupidness of teens. It sort of represents idiot teenagers. And Grizz, I think you're right. I think the band being there with a microphone set up, and then they finally break up and leave, and that's the moment that William comes in and shines. And I think that's important because I think this movie, you ready for this? This movie is not about Preston and Amanda. And matter of fact, it would have done better without Preston and Amanda even in it. This movie is about Mike and William.
It's a piping hot take.
And I think
that's a solid take.
William hits his stride due to the band. So I'm not going to give the band credit, but
that
that
could have
mechanism led to that.
We could have gotten there without that whole band. And here, let me just say, I secretly agree with you, but
Okay.
I just felt like I don't know. I felt like this would have been kind of a controversial thing to bring up, and I didn't. In all transparency, didn't love the band. Didn't think any of the characters were all that interesting, but I do mostly agree with what you've said there.
How many of you guys went, or how many parties did you guys go to that they had a makeshift corner room, box for a band, a live band to set up at a house party?
A few, but not a lot.
Almost
Okay.
every party I hosted in college had that
Oh,
because I
shoot.
lived with a band, and
You
that's
would.
where April and I first.
Nice. We built a I've been to
dating.
a handful at least. So we built a backstage venue for a bunch of bands way back, and it was Haste the Day, and my boy Jimmy Ryan sang from Haste the Day. So it was kind of fun.
Nice.
Here's a question for you. Why did Amanda go to the party?
Because it was I don't know.
She didn't want to be around her girlfriends. She was annoyed by them. She didn't want to be around Mike. She hated him. She didn't have any other friends there. She pouted and bitched the entire time.
obligation to be the popular pretty girl.
I think she wanted to go because she's a bitch and she wanted to be she wanted to be seen. And like you just said, like she's
Obligation
the
to be
popular
a popular girl,
prom
yeah.
queen, prom king, all that. Not prom king, but just queen. But why did she go to the party? That was so stupid. Stay home if you want to.
Because we just don't have a movie without it, man.
We have Mike and William. We have Mike and William.
Mike and William ain't selling tickets, bro.
That's true.
Jennifer Love Hewitt's selling
Would it
tickets.
have had more of a cult following if it didn't have her in it?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
But it wouldn't have made that 26 mil.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good answer, Nick.
It pulled in, yeah.
Brian, I want to talk about something that really gets your goat, and that's the letter.
Oh man, that letter.
Get into it. Burn it up.
Here's my problem with the letter. Okay, Amanda breaks up with Mike and tears him up in front of everyone. Says he's drunk, he's an asshole, go home, and everybody hates him. He's like, I'll kick everyone's ass in this room. Great scene, by the way. So now she's
Great
leaving.
scene.
Everyone's hitting on her. Stoner guy. Oh God, you're a hottie. Just like everyone's trying to date her or whatever.
Oh
And
wait,
then-
sorry. Can I say one little thing there, because there was a quote I wanted to bring up that I did not bring up.
please.
And it was from the memory guy. And it was and I
Are you gonna say it? I love it.
I'm
Please
gonna
read
say
the-
it.
Read the entire quote, including the B
I had
word.
this one as well.
Amanda, do you remember the sock hop? I had the hugest boner for you.
And I was hoping we could work something out.
I'm glad we did work it in, because it's a quote that we've got to talk about.
I laughed very loudly at that scene.
It's a sad man in a sad moment. But it's also kind of hilarious. And I don't know quite what to make of it.
It's on brand with him being the guy who just remembers all the annoying things.
We all had somebody in our graduating class.
I feel like I
Just
knew
like
him
this, right?
in real life.
I think
feel
I
like
might have.
We
Yes.
did,
Yeah.
but that person didn't scream about their huge boner to the most
True.
attractive girl in the class.
Somebody else probably did, but definitely not that person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the movie might not be 100% realistic, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we had to get to that
What?
quote.
So yeah, so
sorry.
he's coming through. Everyone's trying to. She's coming through. Everyone's hitting on her, and then at the very end of the line, Preston says, "Amanda, I love you." Right? She's already read the letter by
Yep.
this time.
He's
which-
finally gotten enough courage to say it out loud.
He's gotten the
in the
courage
middle of the
because
party.
he's
Yeah.
gone out on his quest. Jenna Elfman has given him the green light to go get her, right? So he's coming back. He thinks it's her. She looks at him and he can't believe it and he goes down. And she's read this letter. So now what does she do? She describes the actual literal reality of their past. She said,
She does. You're right.
We probably had this shared perceived intimate moment that you've been holding on to for these 4 years, and I wish you just whatever. I can't remember the line. That's literally what happened. My question to you: what the fuck could be in this letter that changes that history and makes everything right?
Yeah, what did she see in the yearbook when she flipped it open and she
She
his handwriting?
She saw. She knew the letter was written by Preston, but she didn't know who Preston was.
Oh, okay.
So in the yearbook,
Got it.
which that's why the yearbook was a clever mechanism, because then she's
Yeah.
able to see that's him. She connects the dots, yada yada. But I'm thinking, like, what could possibly be in that letter?
Okay. I want to unpack this a little bit. I want to talk about something a little bit before that related to the letter. So we're gonna just bust this open, okay?
Yes.
So, first of all, I want to talk about how the letter gets to
Unbelievable scene.
Great scene.
Beautiful.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Beautifully
I
shot cinematography.
find that scene repulsive.
You don't like the practical. Sure, okay. You can't suspend your disbelief and love the fact that it.
So in a movie that is otherwise taking place in the real world, we have this sort of supernatural event that takes place where
Fate.
8
It's just simply fate.
it's not, though. It's fucking bullshit. There's no way that
Yeah, but we
a
have to
letter
have
is going
somebody
to get
kiss
rolled
at
by
the
a
end of the
keg
film.
and stuck to someone's shoe and pulled
And then
out of the
rolls
garbage
to the keg and through
and
the
tossed
front
into
door
a bowl of
and
nuts
to the band
right in
and to
front of the
DJ,
girl.
and over the DJ's, and he spins it off into the bowl of Chex Mix.
Otherwise, this movie was like in the real world.
Well, except for the alien abduction scene at the end, which is what the fuck.
We were gonna
Sorry to derail you.
we're
Here's
gonna
what
put a
I'm
button
say.
on that.
You just completely changed my mind on that scene. I accepted that scene because I saw it when I was 16 and just laugh at it because it's practically it's a well done scene.
Yeah, I agree
but-
with that.
But it's completely.
But in the context of
unrealistic.
the world,
It'd be like
it
if
makes
a wizard
no
came
fucking
in and
sense.
did wizard
Yes,
spells, and
yes.
I'm supposed to believe that.
Exactly.
You're so right.
It makes no fucking sense.
I'm joking this entire time. Yes, it makes no sense.
And damn it, so we just don't forget. Let's talk about that in credits sequence with the aliens. What the fuck? All I wrote down was WTF. That was such a. Now I remember there was a quote from one of the dorks, and it was like don't put the probe inside me, Daddy.
Yeah, when he's waking up, he like wakes up.
Right. And first of all, I said Daddy, so I was thinking that's
Yeah, that was weird.
real weird.
I just didn't do any thinking about that because I didn't want to.
That was just an odd line. It's an odd line. But then they get abducted by aliens in the final part of which I guess you're right. That is another, I guess, supernatural element that is sort of introduced into the film during the credits, which
They
is
get
odd.
abducted by an alien spaceship in the movie Can't Hardly Wait. Two gentlemen get
Yeah.
abducted by aliens.
It's kind of just a fuck you, right?
Yeah. It's another way this movie shoots itself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because they could have done that scene a whole different way. I love the long shot down the suburban street. It had Dazed and Confused vibes to that, the way that scene was shot. I love the fact that we revisit these two nerds. They're walking down the street. But I think you could have done it without the spaceship. You could have done it with something happening in the background, with some character interaction as a result from the night before.
Was that an in credit
We're-
scene?
we're-
It was.
I guess you'd
After
call it
the
like
credits?
a mid-credit scene.
Post-credit scene
It
or
was
mid-credit
before,
scene.
it
Yeah.
was before the full credits, but after like the stylized starring.
I don't know.
credits.
I feel like post or mid-credit
Don't you
slash
say
post-credit
it.
scenes.
Don't you say it.
What? Go for it.
You're gonna just give them license to put whatever they want. No, go ahead. You say it. You say
No,
it.
go ahead.
Thank you for not saying
Good,
it.
Brian's corner.
I'm gonna say you can't just put like that's still part of the movie. I guess is that weird?
No, I don't think it's part of the movie.
Okay.
I think the movie ends at the start of the credits because that is when the credits roll. The end of the movie is there, and this is just simply for the directors to have fun and goof off, whether it's a montage or a quick gag reel or whatever. I've always felt the in credit scenes is not usually anything to write home about or worry about. That's just me. Grizz's corner.
Because we were burning so slow tonight, guys. We were burning so
So
slow.
slow.
And I just want to give a special thank you to 1792, our prime sponsor tonight. And I just want to also give a shout out to Taxman, who is providing a little bit of good booze for us as well.
Thank you, Taxman.
So, okay, one thing I wanted to bring up real fast, we'll just keep burning it slow here, is how did you guys feel about, and I'm just going to come out and say it, I kind of love this, the stat or vital statistics card that introduces each character, and then we also kind of get the same thing at the end that sort of gives the it's kind of the epilogue,
Yeah.
where they go in life, kind of card statistics thing. I kind of love that, even though I know it's not like a real good movie doesn't do that, but I still kind of like it as a shortcut to kind of, tell us all about the character in about 5 seconds in just a really efficient way. What did you guys think about that tactic?
I had marked down that normally I don't like that gimmick of exposition, but I think it was really well done and perfect for this movie.
I thought it was really well done. I agree with that. I think that's why I think I push it because he also had he literally looks in camera and talks straight to camera. Multiple characters do, right?
So that's interesting. You bring up the fourth wall.
But I bring
Yeah,
up with that
let's
because
talk about that.
that's why I put this in the parody realm because I feel like they are literally looking at you and laughing at themselves when they make this film. And they're shooting
So
this
I
film.
think now, please guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's only one true fourth wall break in this movie. I think there are a couple of fake outs. Fourth wall breaks.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
Like the Korsmo, right? When he's kind of giving the exposition about Mike, right? And how he's humiliated him in the
And then it
past.
zooms out and
looks
he's
like
talking to
he's
someone
talking to
else.
camera.
There are four
But there
fourth
are-
wall breaks in this movie. There are 2 fake outs and 2 reels.
Oh, is there another real one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first real one is this isn't the first real one. This is one of the real ones. You remember when the girl is talking behind Kenny? Kenny's sitting there and he's kind of giving up, and the girls are talking about the next guy that talks to me. I'm gonna do him.
Right.
Kenny, he gets excited and he looks right into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
He just glances down into the camera, almost like a mistake, and they leave it in. So I was kind of like, "Whoa, why is he looking at us?" So that was a real one. The other real one was Preston is sort of he's narrating his backstory,
Right, at
and
the
he's
start.
talking directly to the camera in his narration of his backstory.
Yep.
So that's maybe once removed.
And I
At the
believe he
start of the
does
movie?
another fake out fourth wall break, doesn't he?
So one of the two fake out ones is when you think he's by the pool and he's talking and saying
Yeah,
all this stuff.
right.
And you
When he's
realize
talking
it's
to the
foreign
exchange
It's the
student.
foreign, yeah.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
And the other
Right.
fake out one is where William's talking and he's recounting all his past with how Mike has treated him, and then you
Right.
realize he's talking to his nerds.
Does the other one have that foggy look as the start of the movie does? Because I always thought that was the dream sequence
Which
of the
one?
monologue sequence, the opening scene where he's talking about she comes, he drops or he goes to tie his shoe at the start of the school, and she walks in.
That's that scene with all
and
the
it's all foggy.
That's the
so
foggy
is that the
scene.
only one that is?
That's the only
okay.
memory backstory.
Okay,
telling,
yeah, yep. I thought that was an interesting. I mean, it was a straight up visual cue that they gave
This
to make it a
movie,
dream
this
sequence.
movie never thought someone was going to pick it apart the way that we're
No.
doing it.
Absolutely not.
Can I make one more quick observation? We're just looking at a giant, well, we were a second ago, Ethan Embry face on the screen here. Doesn't he just kind of look like a golden retriever that just kind of wants you to like throw the ball?
He's such a little goofball guy. He's
He
such
is.
a little loyal
He
little
just looks like
doggy
a little
dog.
lost dog that just wants to play.
Yeah.
You know,
He's just so stupidly lost.
He's not
and
pretentious.
Yeah.
he's just kind of a little dum
wants
dum,
to
but he's
play.
charming.
Yeah.
You know, we like him.
Good boy.
Okay, and so we're actually watching the very end of the film right now, and so I think this is the perfect time to talk about the thing that took a couple dozen points off the movie for me.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting to hear what
and
this
it's
was.
this piece of shit ending. My goodness gracious, was I disappointed. I forgot until last night how bad this ending is. It is so cringy, and it hurts so much to watch.
I want to watch you watch it.
I don't know if I ever will again. I
No,
don't
it's
think
on
I
right
can.
now. Just turn
no,
your head
I know,
a few
and I'm
degrees
not.
and watch it.
Yeah, I'm not. I've got this Kurt Vonnegut workshop. Sorry, I can't hang out.
He's my hero.
I mean, just gosh, it just feels like a knife in my stomach.
This did feel very weirdly ended because I vaguely remember this movie ending with him becoming love interest with his best friend, the PMMR. Is that
Oh.
what would you call it?
PMMR.
Yeah,
The,
Beamer.
Denise.
Yeah, Denise. Yes.
No, because on the cover of the movie, she's like
The poor
sticking
man,
your tongue out
Smalley
at him, and you
Ringwald.
think that they're the couple, but they're not.
Right,
Yeah,
that
they
is
used to date.
very
I
misleading.
really truly thought that was the end of this movie, that they became a thing. But nope.
And the fact that
That would've been a better
He
Amanda,
gets the girl and wins.
That
Yeah.
would have been a better ending.
yeah, Amanda is just like basically more or less says, "I'll just be your girlfriend."
Yeah.
Here at the, it's like,
And I'll write you letters every day. Right.
and she writes him a letter every day. It's just so. Let me tell you, I wrote a letter to a girl once.
How'd that work out?
She didn't come to the train station.
It doesn't normally happen.
that way.
That's what I'm saying. What the hell? You need to take lessons from him. He was a Kurt Vonnegut student. Maybe he knew really what to put in a letter to really get a girl going, because whatever was in that letter must have been special.
I guess it must have been fucking.
Because think about
killer.
their history. She didn't even know he existed. He had a crush on her for 4 years. They meet under bad circumstances at a party, and then now they're like this like for life like love interest. I don't know. It's not very female empowering either, which I don't really care about that, but you know.
Well, it's definitely not. I mean, we can go back to the Seth Green line. I got these 10 girls at my disposal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which of these 10 lucky ladies? 9 lucky ladies.
Yeah, which is pretty funny. So I will just say, this movie would have a much higher rating with me if the Preston Amanda story ended with her telling him he's a creep. That would kind of make this a classic movie, because he was a fucking creep. He was a weird guy.
Yep.
He gave a weird vibe whenever he kind of, like I said, he kind of has this lost dog look all the time.
Look how he
Like
dressed. Go
he
back
was-
through the movie and see how he dresses
yeah,
in every
he
scene.
dresses like a weird sort of clown guy.
He was
Yeah.
obsessed with her. He was a stalker.
He was
Literally
a
was
stalker.
One of the
He was a
reviews I read
stalker.
was he is a creeped out stalker for this girl for 4 years that had no idea. So.
Yeah, he was very aloof. He had like kind of one friend who sort of hates him. You know, he's a weird fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's going to end up like killing some people like later in life, which is very sad.
I'm shocked the ending credit thing wasn't that, where he just he goes on a rampage when he's 48.
Now this movie's in the 90s. If he ends up as like a Ted Bundy, yeah.
Well, it's
this
a
is
whole
like-
it's a whole for a whole different audience then.
It is, but yeah, that elevates this to like Citizen Kane level. So, anyways, yeah, he's just such a creep, and I can't believe being that creepy gets rewarded at the end of this movie, and
It's
it
a
kind of
bad
makes me a
ending.
little sick.
I feel like studio execs came in and said, we've got to make this be a fun, happy ending. They're the ones that threw in the alien crap. They're the ones that threw in all the stupid stuff. And I'm going to say, just to come back to, I said that there were 4 really cringe actors in this movie, and unfortunately, it's 4 of the 5 on the cover of the movie. And
PMMR.
It's PMMR. She's and Nick, you're right. She was really well cast and did exactly what she needed to do. But I guess I just hate the fact that they wrote her in
To
there
reference
because-
back, that's the poor man's Molly Ringwald.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Denise.
Bummer.
She was cringe. Ethan Embry, just cringe. Jennifer Love Hewitt, just too sappy and cringy and all that. And then I thought, I know you were saying you're a fan and all this, and I am too generally, but Special K, Kenny was cringe. Most of the things he did in this movie were just like
A lot of these characters were just so over the top, like specific to an archetype. I don't know.
And I don't mind over
His
the
was
top.
the epitome of that.
Because like I listed those side characters I love, but those were 4 of the main characters, and there was too many lines, and I just was like, oh. And then like Peter Facinelli would come on and say things, and it would be like a breath of fresh air, like, oh, okay, I'm actually disappearing into this actor. And then Jerry O'Connell comes in, and you're like, yes. So just to circle back, that's my Mount Rushmore of cringe actors, and Can't Hardly Wait, the most niche list you'll ever hear of.
Well, as the credits roll, I think it's probably an opportune time for final thoughts.
Here's my final 2 questions for you guys. Number 1, who had the best time at this party?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I want to think about that.
I'll ask the other question too then while you think about it. Who had the worst time at this party? And since I had some time to think about it, I'll say I think, I was going to say William had the best time at the party. But I guess at the very end where he ends up in jail, maybe, but that's not part
I
of
think
the
he
party.
had the best and worst.
I think,
he had the best and worst. I thought he had the best time. I mean, he's going to remember
best
that
and
for the
worst.
rest
I
of
think,
his life.
put it this way: at the party, he had the best time. At the party,
Even though he went to jail, he got off the hook. Even though he was hungover as shit, I still think he would remember that for the rest of his life. It's like, oh, that was the most epic moment that the jock, the most popular guy at school, got me off the hook, and we had the blast at the end of the party. So even though he was hungover and went to jail, I think he still had the best time. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Any other thoughts of who had the best, even if it's a side character?
I mean, maybe the Asian girl. I mean, who was just looking for a man. I mean, it started off rough, but she got her dude, and she kind of got the happy ending she was looking for.
If it wasn't for the fact that she was sad for most of the night, but it
was
right.
a total 180.
It was a 180.
Yeah,
A lot of perfect arcs, character arcs.
Guys, I'm going to say I think poor man's Robert Downey Jr. had also the best time at the party. Keg dude. I mean, he's just pouring the beers, hanging out with his bros.
not caring the world.
At the very end, Preston gets told off, and he goes, "Thanks, man. That was the funniest thing I've seen all night." Like he's just there to just
pouring the
he's
foam
28.
all night. Yeah.
Or how about the stoner guy, and Jason Segel? I mean, they had a great time.
They had a great time. Stoner guy had a great time. He did run into a table at the graduation ceremony, but that was before the party. And then also he got really turned down by Jennifer Love Hewitt when he says, "Oh God, you're a hottie," but he still has
he has no short-term memory. He
You're
doesn't
right.
give a shit.
The foreign exchange student having no idea what was going on, but having a blast.
He had a
had a
blast.
good time.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay.
So worst time at the party, I had 3 candidates. Preston just didn't
Easy.
enjoy himself at all.
Yeah, Preston. Yeah,
for 1
sure.
second.
Expectations were too high. Yep.
Mike, not a one moment of. I mean, he gets drunk at and apologizes or whatever, but just a terrible night for that guy.
Sure.
And then yearbook girl, that poor girl,
Clarissa.
She's
Damn
running
it.
around trying to get signed, getting pushed, getting yelled at,
She was physically abused in this film.
rooting through the garbage, getting her shit thrown
She
in the
didn't deserve
pool.
that.
My God,
I know that was really
what
rude.
a travesty!
Rude.
I'm gonna write her a letter.
Yeah. Wonder what she's up to. It's been a while. Haven't seen her in anything in about 20 years. She's probably sitting on those residuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all just gave her about 4 or 5 cents a piece.
We
just
did. We
watching
did.
this
Good
movie.
for her. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Those are that's my closing thoughts. Are those 2 questions?
I'm glad she's doing well.
Good
Chris, closing
answers.
thoughts?
Good answers. Stop playing Clash of Clans and rejoin the
Movie is outrageously rewatchable, strangely. But yeah, I think Brian and I both agreed that this would have been a 70s, 80s if we had not rewatched it and remembered it from our youth. But I set it at a 55, so it's kind of tough to say didn't age well, especially with some of the racist /
Yeah, some
questionable,
very homophobic,
very
humor in this,
homophobic.
real kind of wow, kind of surprisingly bad.
Like
there
we
was
can't really repeat some of the lines
No, we
from a
can't.
PG-13
You need
movie
to go-
from
It's
25 years
it's
ago.
kind of crazy.
You
to
need to
think how
go
different
watch
the
this
times were.
film. I think it is rewatchable. It is laugh out loud in a few moments for sure. So go
Think
let
of-
us know.
That was like the ultimate humiliation was to show that the jock was gay.
Mhm.
How
Far we've come.
Yeah, how far we've come.
Man.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah. Okay. My final thought. I do enjoy this movie. It's a kind of a guilty pleasure at the end of the day. I'll watch it again. I'm sure I'll probably watch this movie 4 more times before I die.
Same.
And I'm glad I watched it again, but it's not very good, honestly. I just kind of like it because it just, I think, Brian, you kind of said it nicely earlier. You were 16 when this came out. I think I was 15. So it was for us, and it delivered. Let's not beat around the bush. For that time and that age, it delivered for us. When we watch it when we're 40, yeah, we're not going to give it a fucking 90. But it's still, a decent movie that holds up in some ways and is antiquated in other ways. And I think it's worth watching. But I think in the sort of the kind of, if you look at the sort of the what's available in terms of high school movies and coming of age movies, I think this one ranks kind of in the middle, more on the positive side than the negative, but pretty close to the center.
Still shocked by the audience scores on these, for sure.
Yeah, I would have expected higher. You look at a director like Richard Linklater, who's just a world class director. I think he's a true artist, and he directs a movie like Dazed and Confused, which is the same type of a movie. And man, that movie holds up and is a brilliant masterpiece.
It's
and
a much better movie than this movie.
Yeah, and again, comparing this to that. Right there says that that's a good thing. Even if you're not as good as that movie, just to be talked about in the same conversation, it doesn't take away. But you think about how good a movie could be, and you wish this one was a little better.
Yep. Okay, well, whether you want it or not, we're gonna do another fucking episode of this show. Okay, and it's the 15th episode. And so we have something that happens every 5 episodes, right?
Oh, yeah. My favorite.
Right. That's where we do a high critic rating and a low audience rating. So just to be clear, there are more movies that are
It's
kind of
very
high audience
lopsided,
rating, yes, and low critic rating. But just for some symmetry, every 5th episode, we kind of do that high critic rating, low audience rating. So what are we going to do next episode? We're going to do a movie that I think we're all pretty pumped about.
And that you wouldn't maybe expect to be on this list.
And that you
which is why it's
definitely would not expect to be on this list, I will say. And that movie is Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, can't wait.
I'm fucking hyped.
We've got LL Cool J, we've got
Thomas
Samuel L.
Jane.
Jackson, we've got Thomas Jane. It's a hot flick, and I'm excited to talk about
We
it.
got the ocean, the shark.
I feel
It's
like
a full cast.
I feel like it's got one of the most hated characters in recent memory. Almost on par with PMMR. So
Wow.
Can't wait to see if that holds up.
Yeah, we're going to get into that next time. So big thank you to our sponsor, 1792. We appreciate you. Very what do we say? Reasonably priced or sensibly?
Sensibly priced.
Sensibly priced.
Also, the only whiskey we drink on the show.
It's literally our one and only sponsor.
The one and only sponsor.
Except for Old Elk, we love you deeply.
Damn it, Nick.
Still doesn't get it.
You didn't listen to the gimmick.
I don't care, guys. I'm in charge of the sponsors, damn it.
That's
Gotcha.
true. He's right.
That's
And
true.
so-
You get paid. The big
I'm going to give a
bucks.
shout out to Old Elk because I love you, Old Elk, and you gave us that shout out one time. And you know what? I'm going to say it right here, right now. Next episode, we will be drinking Old Elk
Yes.
whiskey.
The
And we will-
only.
Yes, the only sponsor of Critical Mess, except for 1792 and Taxman.
1792 and Taxman.
So, next time, listen in. We'll be talking about Deep Blue Sea. If you made it this far, praise you. You're just a great person, and we really appreciate your time.
Our podcast literally outlasted the movie that we put on at the beginning, and now the movie's been over for a long time, and we're still yakking about it.
We are still yakking.
Somebody
about
please give us a rating if we get five reviews total, we'll shorten every episode by 45 minutes.
Or maybe we'll lengthen every
because
episode
I know
by
we'll never get
45
5
minutes.
reviews.
What was the threshold for doing a nude episode?
10.
10. So didn't we hit that already?
No, not 10 episodes. 10 reviews.
Yeah, we didn't get 10 reviews.
No, we got 10 rating. We got like 16 ratings.
Okay,
but
ratings, reviews.
a review, you got to write some words.
Got to write some words. Okay. So the offer still stands.
Yeah, I'm in.
I think we've got 2 reviews now, so we need 8 more for the nudist episode. We're not going to film it. You're going to feel the tension, though.
But we'll probably match the movie to the nudity. We'll look at our list and we'll find just a real raunchy movie, and it'll just be so awkward.
We've made a big promise here tonight. So I hope we can.
I'm at a loss for words at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Let's just wrap this up.
Yeah, it's
All right, we're out. Thank you, Ben.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Ben. We love you. This has been Critical Mess. Gentlemen, say good night.
See ya.
Later.